Hi everybody, it's Lene. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a really fun and easy project for you using your scraps, using your fall scraps in particular. You guys have told me you're ready for fall projects, you'd like to move on from summer, and you like the scraps. So here we go. I'm using a $1.25 store notepad. It's a 4x6, it has 100 sheets. It has a nice binding on the top, and where these pages just are perforated and they come out, this part at the top has a nice binding on it so that it's not going to fall apart. And I'm just gluing papers directly to this cover. I didn't cover the back of it, but you could absolutely do that as well. So let's take a little flip through here. As you can see, it's got kind of a quilted look. There's some little stitches there. And then I used a little dazzle sticker that says thinking of you, which I thought was kind of fun. It's kind of a play on the project where, you know, like a notepad is where you write things. I write things down to remind myself. Do you guys do that too? I have to write things down. So thinking of you could be, yes, you're giving it to a friend and you're thinking of them, but this is where we write things down that we're thinking of. Then on the inside front cover, I covered that with paper, and then another 2-inch strip here with a cute little deer. I'm using so many different 6x6 paper pads. I'll list them all down below, but you know, use what you have. I've got you know, paper that's not fall at all mixed in. I chose it by color, by theme, and instead of just using one book of paper. So back to this one, the pocket, yeah, just a little note cut out, and then maybe you're buying coffee and you're bringing this to a friend. Then just a couple of little scraps that are overlapping there, like they're little quilt squares. Now I put some of these just on a couple of pages. Maybe you want to put them on one every 5 page or something like that, but it's nice to have at least 2 pieces of paper of the little scraps touching instead of just one. And then the little stitches, and I used just a little pen. This is just the Micron .05 pen, really fine tip, and just a black marker. You get these on Amazon. I'll put those down in my Amazon store. So you guys, let's talk more about the color schemes here. When you're pulling out just papers from your paper stash, you might want to use things that are, you know, common in color for fall. Browns, yellows, golds, blues, greens, all of those colors are going to work for fall. And I guess I would say primarily stay away from using just all brown, okay? Because that gets us into a very monochromatic look, a very one color look, and then it's just not as festive, I don't think. Maybe you like the monochromatic look, and that's great. So I just pulled all of these little papers together, little scraps that I had, and thought, okay, which ones am I using? This is from one paper pack. Here's another one from a Halloween paper pack that has pumpkins. This one has the little dots. This one's another paper pack. This one is a 12x12. But these all sort of work together because of the common colors that they have in common, and not necessarily the theme. Like this one's not fall at all. Either is that one. That's actually a Christmas pack. So yeah, it works really well if you just sort of pull everything together like this and then start. So my first thing is I just took, like I knew I wanted to add something other than just all rectangles and squares. So I started off with a little rectangle in the bottom corner. Now you can paper piece this whole thing out and then pick each piece up and glue it down. I would recommend doing that. If you get them all done and then you sweep everything aside, then you're like, oh no, it's a jigsaw puzzle. I have to put it all back together again. So if that's helpful to you, it was helpful to me. All right, then the next thing maybe you want to take, now this isn't going to be exactly like the one I did, but maybe you're taking this piece right here because you want something tall. Where are my scissors? Here we go. And I'm just going to cut this one down. And you can absolutely overlap like that. But on this one, maybe I wanted to put something under here that would look like another triangle behind that one. And then, oh, I already used that one, Lene. And then maybe you're doing it like that. Okay, and then on this next one, maybe you're taking this and you're going like this. And then you can trim them even with the edges of this when you're done, or you can cut them down to size, whatever you would like to do. And then there's this one. So maybe you want to do this one where it's a little bit shorter so it's not the same as this one. You want to put it like that. So let's cut this one down. And I just had a lot of fun doing this. So like this. And then I would just sort of cover up the end of that one with this big piece that we're going to have coming in here. Let's trim that one down. And then I start to get very conscious of like all of the rectangles. And maybe I want to add in some things that are very, very square. Okay, like that. That's a good little base. Then I even had this little piece that had the owl on it, and I was like, oh, I want to feature that one. This one I had the little piece that had the deer. So maybe you could put this one over here and then start using little squares just to kind of break things up. You can even take a square and you could put it right there, and this works as a little bit of a mat. So you can overlap them like that, you guys. Here's one that has like a sunflower on it. We could kind of go up here. And then let's find another small square. Maybe I just want to use like this one. This one has some brown leaves here. And maybe I want to take another one, and this one has kind of green leaves, and I put it right there. Okay. Do you see where we're going? You're just kind of layering pieces. Some pieces are going to be focals. And then when I got to about this part, I would start to glue everything at the bottom down, all right? Because that way things aren't shifting around so much. And then at the very top, I just added another little strip straight across that top edge, like that, okay? Let this dry. All right, and then you can add a piece on the inside back, just another, this one is just a 6" by a 4" piece. Glued that down. The little pocket, as I said, this is 2 inches by 4 inches. Yeah, 2 inches by 4 inches. I did add just a little notch there using just 1/3 of this little circle punch. Just going just like that, makes a cute little notch. Inking the edges of that, and then once all of this is trimmed down, ink the edges of that as well. And I'm just using some brown ink and going around the edges. You can even go right up here. Then I just added some stitch work. You absolutely do not need to do stitch work. I just thought it was a lot of fun. A little ribbon there glued. And then you just have a really nice little, just a little gift, a little hostess gift, a little gift to bring along to a friend. And this would work, this would be an amazing little hostess gift for Christmas if you did this in a Christmas theme. All right, so let's take our scraps and go along to another idea. So stick around. Okay, we're back. So you guys, just taking little chipboard shapes like this and cutting them out. I have my little bird. And then doing that same technique with the little bird, and then you can glue it to your junk journal pages, the fronts of your project, cards, and then just add like cute little drawn little feet there. How cute is that? Okay, and for this, you guys, for these little Tweety birds, I just used for my chipboard, if I can find it, here we go. Just use packaging. You know, you've got a ton of this at home. The cereal boxes, the cracker boxes, whatever you have that's got this chipboard on it. And I've got some patterns to share with you. So I also have some leaf shapes that we're actually going to use on another project. You could swap that out very easily with the bird. And my leaf shape, of course, it being early September, my leaves are not fall leaves yet. So I just went out in my backyard, I grabbed a couple of leaves that were on the ground, and I went ahead and I just traced the smaller one onto some chipboard. In case you don't have leaves that look like these, I have some patterns for you. I'm going to ask Carrie to put them on a digital download. In case you don't remember, Carrie is my fantastic, fabulous sister-in-law who does all my editing. Hey, Carrie, you're doing a great job. And she's going to put this as a digital download, and you can just find that below the video in the description box. And then you can just print that out on your printer and then trace those patterns onto your chipboard. So here is the one idea with the little fall bird. All right, and with this one, you guys, I'm just using the exact same technique that I did before, and I've already got it started. This one, I will say there is a subtle difference. With this one, I did a lot of overlapping. It's a lot more haphazard. I didn't like line things up perfectly. I was just gluing things, overlapping, and not really worrying about keeping those lines in any kind of collaging rules, okay? And just used my favorite Cosmic Shimmer Specialist Acrylic Glue. It's a paper glue available at Paper Wishes, as are all of these papers available at Paper Wishes. And then I just let it dry for a good hour. Now we're gonna just turn that over, and I'm going to find my small scissors because I know they're here. Scissors, here they are. All right, and then we're just going to trim this from the back. And then by all means, like, keep the scraps from this and use them on another project. And then using tiny scissors, super, super important actually, because if you're using big chunky scissors, it can really be frustrating to get into small areas. So the right tool for the job is really important. And you'll notice that I'm really not moving my scissors a whole lot. I'm moving this little chipboard piece around with my left hand. I just find it a lot more easy to do that. All right. We're almost there. Let's see what it looks like from the front. I always hesitate to show you, to have you guys just watch me cut paper. I would just think that's so boring. But I've had requests of people say, oh, don't turn the camera off when you're cutting paper. I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So let me know, you guys, if you just thought that was unnecessary and I should just turn it off and come back with it done. All right, that's how that's going to look. And now we're going to add, here's a little cocoa bean ink. This is Prism ink. This is available at Paper Wishes as well. Now for this one, you could add stitches on it, absolutely. But I think we're gonna try not using stitches. Let's see how we do. Maybe we'll just do stitches along the outside edge. So I've got my little pen. Now there's different kinds of stitching that you can do. I like to do, let me show you here. I like to do a dash, a dash, a dash, and then you could do little like lines in between. You could do a line on them and then a dot, a line, dash, dash, dot, line, dash, dash. You could just do a regular stitch and a long stitch and a regular stitch and a long stitch. You can also do little X's as your stitches. That's it. That's kind of what I know. There you go. So let's just go around the edge here. And this part I will do off camera. All right, this is what my little leaf looks like. And I just did the stitching around the outside edge after inking it. And I just didn't do anything on the center there. All right, and the base I'm going to be using is from the Dollar Tree. $1.25. It's over in their little journal paper section. And the cover on it is very nice. I chose this one because of its size and because the pages on the inside already had leaves on them. So win-win. And I thought we're going to just elevate this a little bit and make it just look a little bit more handmade. So what I'm going to use to cover it is a paper sack. This is a paper grocery sack. And I've just cut it open down the sides, all the way down. And you can see the flaps right here, okay? And we're just going to be using, I think, just this top part. So let's go ahead and get rid of the rest of this so it's not so noisy. All right, and then I'm just going to peel off the handle on the inside. Just slowly, and it'll come right off. All right, so the next thing we can do, my little pickup order, just making sure there's enough to wrap around here, and there absolutely is. So we're going to go ahead and take this and wrinkle it, crunch it. I want the wrinkles, I want the texture, I want the distressing of it. And that way it just doesn't matter what kind of paper bag you're using as long as it's brown. You could also do this with a lunch sack size bag. The paper is thinner though, and that's why I'm using the grocery sack. It's because it's a nice thick paper. All right. So that's what's gonna look like here. And then we have this spot right here where we tore that off, and we're just gonna see if we can kind of disguise that. I think we can absolutely do that. So the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and take this again. I think I'm gonna need my little inking mat. I cut this one way down because my full size mat, craft mat, is just too big. All right, and we're just taking this and we're gonna go over those little creases, just like this. And then once we kind of do a little bit like that, then I'm gonna take the surface of this and just go over it just like that. You see, it's really showing up. So this is getting, there's lots of mountains and lots of valleys after we've crinkled it, and this is hitting those mountains. All right, so I'm gonna finish doing that, and then remember, we're just kind of hitting this because this is gonna get more color in the little valley parts. So once I finish that whole thing, this cover is really kind of got a plastic coating on it, so just glue is not going to be enough. So I'm going to use tape. I'm going to use double stick tape. That's intention is for paper crafting. I'm going to use that on the outside edges, and then I'm also going to use glue because when I use tape on projects like this, I like to sort of double up the adhesive because in my experience, tape is great, but over the years, tape loses its stickiness and then things tend to fall apart. But if you're using tape and glue, then you're good to go. So I'm going to do this on both sides, and then we really just need like one across the center like that. And then right here, we're going to put one right along the spine on both sides. And then I'm going to trim my paper down just a little bit, and then when I come back, we're going to put this together. All right, so we're going to start with the back. And I'm now on the back side of my paper bag. I've got a nice straight edge right here. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to place this right along that straight edge. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to remove this tape. I think this is going to make a really fun cover, and then we get to do all kinds of embellishing on it. All right, and then for the glue, right over the tape, and especially on the edge of that binding. And then just a little right there. All right, now this part we want to really keep this kind of taut and move it this way. Move it from left to right. Because of that tape, we really want it to like spread out a little bit. All right, so now we're just going to take our scissors and we're going to, normally let this dry for 10 minutes or so, but we're going to go ahead and just cut around it just like that by opening it up. And we're just using the inside front and back cover as a guide. Okay, so everything fits nicely. And then you guys, for another layer, I have a book page. Don't worry, it was from a very damaged book. And I'm just tearing away kind of the white borders around the edge. I'm going to use just a little bit of that same brown ink, just using the surface of the ink pad. We're not trying to hit all of the edges, just some of the edges to highlight that torn edge. And you'll notice it's really a chunky torn edge. All right, this is going to be a nice little layer. There we go, just a little bit across the center. And then I like to make sure that the text is straight. The page doesn't have to be straight, but I like the text to be straight. That's just my own little thing. All right, so now we're getting to the scraps. So we've got this piece right here. I like that. And I think we're gonna just take this one. Let's see, where's my little ruler? I'll give you just a general idea of the measurements. This is really a free-handing kind of situation. It's 2 inches by 5 inches, and we're gonna cut a little bit and put a little dovetail on that, just like that. And then I want something else that's like very different in color. Maybe like this one. This one's already cut. What if we put it like that? Or maybe it's on the other side of this one. Oh, that's nice. Like that and like that. That's pretty good. And then we've got, I really like this one as well. Let's do another angled one. Okay, so just sort of like that. I've got too many angles going on. I should have cut it at the same angle. All right, let's cut it at the same angle. This is just how we like process everything. There we go. I like those layers like that. And then let's find the leaf, you guys. So here we have the leaf. Now I'm putting the leaf against the dark color here, and I'm already like, no, that's not gonna work. So what if we did like this and then put them against the light? I like that much better. I've also got some lace I want to add to this. So this will change a little bit. We're just doing it for color. And I've got white lace. I know I want to use a cream lace. This is a really nice little flat one. I got it in an estate sale. Here's some that I did coffee dyed, but it has a gathered edge, so it's not going to lay quite as flat. But yeah, if you have white lace, or especially if it's cotton crocheted lace, dump in a cup of cold coffee and leave it there for about an hour and take it out, let it dry on a paper towel, and it gives you this really like uneven color along the edge, and it's great. So we're going to use this one. All right, so I think we're going to have this go right down the edge here. I like to have this extend over each end just a little bit so that I can trim it even, and then if you put a little bit of glue on the end, it'll keep it from unraveling. And I remembered to bring my fabric scissors today. All right, so now we're just going to tuck that right under there while that is drying. Go. I heard some people in there, I didn't hear. I mean, I saw some people in the comments for the last video were like, we're ready for summer to be done. Do you guys feel that way? Are you ready to move on? I feel like here in Oregon, we've had a heat wave, and it's not nearly as bad as a lot of you in some parts of the country. We're just not used to it at all. And boy, I'll tell you, just a week of that and you're like, okay, summer was great. It's time to move on. So yeah, let me know if you guys are like done with summer, ready to move on. There we go. All right, so now we've got this cute little piece that we can add here. Now I can foam tape that and give it a lift up, or I can just glue it flat. My tendency, I think, is to kind of give it a little lift, but we'll see how that goes. I'm trying to think if there's any other little things here, any other colors that I want to add. I really love this little owl. Where can I put the little owl? Let's see, let's overlap the owl like that. It needs a little ink on the edges. That owl is great. We can't leave him behind. There's even a cute deer on the back. All right, we're just overlapping that as well. And then we can just put this right there. I think that's gonna work really well. So now I think my glue here is dry enough. Just trimming that even. And then, as I said, just a little, I'm gonna put it on my finger actually, a little bit of glue right there will keep that from unraveling. Like that. All right, I'm gonna decide how I'm gonna display that leaf and then I'll be back. We're almost done. I did add a little length of stitched ribbon right over that lace edge. I thought that color just pulled in really nicely there. I did put some foam tape on the back of my leaf and a little ribbon on the front as well. Right there. Okay, so there's our final cover. And then on the inside, I just took another little scrap that a rectangle I had. I inked the edges, took 2 more pieces that were cut at an angle and layered those. We have 2 circle punches, and one is 1.5 inches and the other one is 1 inch. And the 1 inch one, both of them are inked brown, and then the 1 inch one has a little bit of foam tape just for a little lift. And then I just decorated a little library card with a couple more of those little squares and just tucked that in there. And then, you know, we're good to go. All done. So you guys, I think you can see there's like lots of fun things for fall that we can do with our scraps. Don't throw those out. And I always have a giveaway that I talk about at the end of our videos. So this is how it works. If you're new to my channel, if you like, comment, and subscribe to Lene Creates on our main video, this video, then you will be entered in to win. And I'm going to take all of these projects and give them away to a winner, okay? We've never done this many projects. So, well, actually, no, we did one a couple of weeks ago that had 4. So, yeah, this one will have the little bird and the notebook and then the journal as well. So all you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe. And then you will notice that in this week's video, you saw a pop-up. Well, that was the winner announcement for last week's video. So if you want to participate, now you have to watch next week's video and watch for your name to pop up. Follow the directions about how to claim your prize. And if you want to watch on other social media platforms, on Facebook and Instagram, sometimes I have new projects over there. I think I'm definitely going to do one this week. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, if you'd like to help me pay for shipping, I would really appreciate that with a buy me a cup of coffee donation or a super thanks down below the video, because man, shipping has just increased a lot. I'm sure you're all aware. So this is going to be a particularly heavy package, and if I'm mailing it across the country, it's probably going to be close to $15 to mail, and we pay for that on our own. And thanks to those people who donate 100%, I went ahead and used those on our shipping expenses. Thanks for joining me today, you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.